Hi, I'm Terry. This morning I am thinking about a couple of pairs of words. I do that from time to time. Just something sticks in my head, and as long as it's firing up synapses and creating some emotions and helping me sort things through, I just ponder on it. I just kind of mull it over in my mind and think about implications. But this morning I'm thinking about resting from and resting to. Thinking about what am I resting from? What have I rested from? What perhaps could I rest from? And then along with that, thinking about resting to. What am I resting toward? What am I resting into? What am I resting for? This stage of life for me, this season of life called retirement. And retirement is one of those words that, I cherish, but I also push back against because I sense in our culture and kind of built into me because of the air that I breathe that retirement emphasizes retired from. What have I stopped? I've retired from career-oriented life. I've retired from counseling. I've retired from, accumulating. I've retired from. It sounds so dualistic, so either or. I've retired from career life. Does that mean I've retired from counseling, retired from teaching? Does that mean I no longer teach, I no longer mentor, I no longer come up alongside of people? So retirement is for me, if you're going to say I retired from, then also I retired to, or I shifted emphasis, but that's another whole video. Thinking about resting from. What have I rested from? Well, I've rested from career-oriented life of working 50, 60 hours or more per week, with lots of expectations. I've retired from some other things too that are a little more subtle or a little bit less talked about in our culture. I've retired, for example, from having to sort everything into good or bad or up or down. I recognize there's so many shades. I've retired from having to be right about everything. I've retired from a lot of my need to fit in, to be acceptable, to be recognized, that I feel okay with being a little bit of a misfit. I feel okay about being a little peculiar to people. I've retired from warrior, where I need to convert people to my way of thinking. I need to win certain things, be it, more influence, that kind of thing. I've retired from, for example, accumulation. For years, we accumulated stuff. I accumulated degrees, accumulated titles, and so on. I've retired from that. I've retired from needing to bolster my self-esteem or my sense of worth in the sight of others. So I've rested from a lot of those things, rested from. But then the question along with it, what am I resting into? Where, if it's just resting from, then it's disengagement. It's differentiating from, just stopping and stalling. And for a long time, some of the computer things, what do you fear most in life? It was stopping. Just stop. Now, there are lots of things that I have stopped doing, stopped engaging in, but stopping, period, no. What am I stopping from? What am I resting from in order to rest to? Like I'm resting into much richer inner life, a much richer sense of who am I? How do I connect with divinity? How do I connect more deeply with other people? Beyond an hour of counseling or in a certain classroom or whatever, actually connecting, resting to learning to come up alongside of people for a longer term. And right now I'm just starting a new project of blogging a few times a week. So I'm resting into that, but it's not like re-engaging career, re-engaging production. It's resting into a spaciousness of being able to share what I'm thinking, to actually talk to people about it and getting some feedback on it. And this can happen in any phase of life, just in terms of, doesn't only have to be for us old people. It can be for younger people too. What are we resting from? But this is a season of life where there is built into my life a lot of opportunity to rest from. And for me, that almost automatically means adding the part of resting to. So I'm wondering, especially if you're in the retirement, quote unquote, season of life, what have you rested from? And what are you resting to? What do you see your potential? Oh, that's Tess, by the way, our other cat. Last video you met Sam. This is Tess, or the Contessa. So she'll wander around for a bit, I'm sure. But anyway, in your life, what have you rested from? What might you rest from? Whether you're in retirement, season of life, or an earlier decades of life. And what do you have the spaciousness available to you to rest to? Rest to. There are other friends that I know. There's a complex right behind us that is a Habitat for Humanity complex. And there are people that we know from this area that they're resting from a lot of career-oriented things and busyness and so on, and they're resting to having the spaciousness to volunteer there, to do some building kind of things, to help with that organization and others. So rest from, and I celebrate that. I celebrate resting to much more spaciousness, many more options to engage in things, to just take off or to take a nap, just all those great benefits that I've rested from so many hours to have more discretionary. But resting to, for me, that means blogging. It means maybe drafting ebook. It means sitting with people for luxurious periods of time, spending time with Anita, much more time, less hectic, resting from, resting to. So playing with the words. I encourage you to maybe see if those are fun ideas to play with, if they rest into something in you, if they resonate with something. Might be worth pondering those. Talk to you next time.